Now recording.
Good evening, it's 2200 UTC on this Monday, the 18th of November, 3305. I'm your host, Jeff Ryan, and welcome to the Prismatic Congress. The Prismatic Congress is a broadcast by the Prismatic Imperium based in Cubio, an active player group that makes up part of the Ashling Deval community and specializing in role-playing. First, the general game news. First phase has concluded successfully for the Golconda. The second phase, Imperial Senator Ava Cornelius released this statement. This remarkable 1,000-year mission exemplifies humanity's indomitable spirit. We stand ready to help these colonists complete the mission by constructing a new planetary settlement exclusively for their use. There, they will finally be able to enjoy solid ground and open skies in a colony that thrives under Imperial protection. The Federation also made a statement, but it's not really worth repeating here. In other news, the AGM, David Braben, has confirmed that the paid expansion is to allow for revamping the Codebase next year. This is welcome news for people who are well aware of the problems with Elite Dangerous' Codebase, and it should make further expansion easier to deal with. With the information on Jurassic World's DLC, it's more confirmation that the leaked roadmap from April is still holding true. This means that likely expansion next year should be space legs and base building. Still, we have to still wait for confirmation from Elite Dangerous, from Frontier to confirm all that. But given the other leaks in the roadmap, it seems to be holding out well. And that's all of the general news. Now on to brands news from Vigor, Chef Chrysler.
Thank you. This is Chief Chrysler. I'm actually incognito, sending from prison today. As I have said in the last few shows, we have had a Vigor event, and that was 2 days ago on the Saturday, and I think it was a lot of fun. We were grouping up with our ship launch fighters, playing different rounds of different games. We had a tournament, which Nightbear Feet actually won. And we also tried a new game mode, which was called Goose Chase, which was about pure survival. That ended up very funny. And we played some CQC. So yeah, everything with fighters was in there, and yeah, we had a great time for about 3 hours. So once again, I want to thank everyone who participated. The rewards have already been sent out, and I'm looking forward to doing more in the future. Another thing I take out of this event is something I've had in mind earlier already, but is now confirmed. And that is, I'd like to have a more regular thing with CQC. I have the impression that there's a lot of people who like playing CQC when it's up. So I'll think about having some more regular monthly day or so where we just team up and play some CQC. I think that would be fun. But I'm also listening to ideas on that. If you have any suggestions, just hit me up. I don't think I have to say much else than in the last weeks about our BGS. That continues to be mostly stable. We have a few little tasks here and there that are not super important, but if you want to help there, just ping me so I can point you in the right direction depending on the current situation. But otherwise, we're still good in our BGS, both in the Adamantine Union as well as the Prismatic Imperium. And now I do not hand over to Lord Headmaster Chekron himself, but to a recording he sent us because he is sick today and cannot participate, but he has a recording of the news for the branch of Sight.
Greetings, Imperial citizens and fellow High Council colleagues. This is Lord Headmaster Chekron speaking for the branch of Sight. Unfortunately, I am not able to join you live today because a lot of recent activities in the branch of Sight made me leave my office and relocate to one of our outposts somewhere in the Prismatic Imperium controlled space. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the Lord Warden's combat event a few days ago because something political came in between, so I'd like to apologize for this. But I also want to apologize for me not being here live with you, because I know you really appreciate my company, well, the most of you. However, this week's side news. We are still taking a lot of resources and putting them into the research of the generation ship that was found a few weeks ago. As you know, I've sent a few of our best scientists there, as well as some medic personnel, to conclude the overall status not only of the passengers on board, but also for the ship, if there's some kind of hazardous elements in there. Fortunately, we found no signs of any illnesses or potential hazardous substances on board. So we think that the next logical step would be to invite one of their citizens to us in the Cubio system. Since the Emerald University is not only one of the best but also one of the most secure observatories in the entire Imperial system, I think I'd like to invite one of them into my office. However, this is only possible if one of their people actually wants to do this. I need to wait until that community goal itself, the Interstellar Initiative, ends, because the results of the ongoing conflict in who gets the most of them into their systems between the Federation and the Empire is still ongoing. I don't want to risk any political dramas, so I'm going to wait for now. But the researchers I've sent there, as well as the explorers, will keep an eye out on the actual situation. Other than that, I'm still working on some of my roleplay stories. I'm going to involve my Vice Headmaster too, because I'm thinking he spent too much time out there. So the paperwork is coming back, Jeff. Well, this has been everything from the branch of Sight for this week. I hope you don't miss me too much. I'll be back next week, and I'm giving the word either to the Lord Herald of the Branch of Mind, or you're going to hear that hilariously and stupid intro for the general discussion again. Until next week, citizens.
So I really like how we saved the best for last. So yeah, this is the Lord Herald, Kevin Massey from the Branch of Mind, and I have a lot of stuff to cover this week. So of the three main points, the first one I want to jump into is what I have learned so far about the new War Overhaul that will be put into play next season, which will be next year. So from what I understand now, we have 5 stats that everything's going to be run off of. The first one is going to be, it's going to go attack, defense, health, mobility, and range. Attack, as I might have said last week, is how many D10s each unit gets on an attack roll. So basically, it's just a number like a unit might have 5 D10s, and we roll 5 D10s. And then they have to get over a threshold for the defense. So the defense is threshold an attacker must beat in order to do damage. And then if they get over that threshold, whatever is remaining from the over the threshold gets applied to health reduction for the attacked unit. So that'll be health, which is otherwise pretty obvious. But the two newest things that I hadn't heard about before and just learned about today is mobility and range. Mobility is how far a unit can move in a single turn, which I'm not sure if that means the battlefield is going to be grid based or not, but that is a possibility. Otherwise, it's just going to be based on radius. And the other is range, which is how far away a unit can attack from their current position. There is a possibility of a 6th stat, which is possible evasion. I'm not sure if that's going to be necessary right off the bat, but it could be something that's worked in. I know that there'll be some balancing with how far a unit can move versus how far it can attack, which a perfect example is the Icarus, which is not very mobile. However, it can attack pretty much the entire battlefield. But with that, we also have to reconsider the commanding officer stats. You have to remember that those are all temporary, because as it is right now, a perfect example is Commander Miller. If he is aboard the Icarus, it's going to be God, and no one will stand a chance because I think he does like a 200% buff to it. Those are all just stand-in numbers, just so you can kind of get an idea of what it is I want to do with the war system. And then units are expected to be managed the same way as other items on the diamond market. So instead of having 5 or 6 tiles of the same unit repeating, and then each person renting one, it will be more like a pool of how many are available. So we'll see how that works out. That could mean that it would be easy to increase or decrease or to scale the amount of units available per engagement. Okay, so the next topic is this one is a lot of credit to Missler, actually just about full credit to Missler. We have the Discord post management from the website. So the website is now going to be able to handle various aspects of systems that are already working and systems that will be coming with the new system. So of those, the first is the Discord. The Discord post management is birthday announcements. So birthday announcements is going to be player birthdays and NPC birthdays. We can now keep a record of in elite time, and based on whatever is submitted by the players, either your real birthday or your character's birthday, and that will be translated into game time. And we can have posts that show up on Discord announcing those birthdays. This will be available for the NPCs as well, since they now all have birthdays. So they'll actually age appropriately both on the Codex and on our Discord server. In addition to birthdays, we'll have other things on our calendar. Basically, we have a calendar system that manages the birthdays, but it will also manage holidays and really anything else we want. So if we want to keep track of QBO holidays, that is now going to be possible, and we can announce them ahead of time and on the day of, just to add a little bit more depth to our lore. Additionally, we have the TPM news management, which is currently done by the bot, but that is going to be moving to the website. So we'll be able to have a scheduling system for the existing TPM news that we have now. But we're also going to have a general news submission system for other players that can submit their own articles, and for just one time, whenever we just need to force something to post, which is an issue that I wanted to address in the past, where if we have something that's relevant right now, we have to wait for the bot to determine if it's going to post it or not. But now we can actually force postings through something called the QBO Herald. So that will be a new news network that will not be randomly posting articles. So we'll be looking in the future at players being able to submit their own articles through that without even being members of the Branch of Mind. And my last talking point is we'll have a new Vice Herald for the Branch of Mind. Ramirez is going to be stepping down from that position because she's very busy, and she'll still be focusing on the things she's working on now, but I want to open up that position for some of the crazier things that we're going to be working on for the next season. So I don't know who the Vice Herald is going to be. It's going to be a member of Branch of Mind, but I am still in the process of deciding which of our current Mind members will step up to that new role. So I'll have an announcement by probably before next week. I'll be making that decision this week. So that pretty much covers all the news for the Branch of Mind.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's a lot to get through. It's not good, but it's nice for me because I mean I've been busy over the last few weeks with real life and stuff. So it is nice for me personally to take part in the program and also to hear all the things that are going on. As I'm sure it is for anybody who listens who's part of the Prismatic Imperium, just to know that there's so many things that are happening just now. So the first thing, obviously, we're going to go back to Vigor. So the event went well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Bare Feet won.
There were not as many as originally signed up, or some had to.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that actually
leave earlier or came a bit later, but still we
How
were
many
able
people?
to do stuff.
How many people joined in?
5, I think, in total.
I think 5 in total.
Yeah.
We were 4 at max at the same time.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I've said before with these things.
There were others who wanted to come. One guy couldn't show up because he still had to download the update on the laptop. So I think if we did this as a routine thing in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also, I mean, as I've said before about any event that we do, as long as even a few people show up and have fun, then that's fine. And also, I mean, word of mouth spreads. I mean, like the show as well. I mean, today we're out of normal schedule. We're doing it on a Monday instead of a Sunday. But you've seen our audience participation building as we've kept it regular to the Sunday event. But yeah, it's people turned up, people took part, people had fun. Well, what's the goose chase that everybody enjoyed?
Oh well, the goose. Yeah, I should have maybe talked about it more, but it was an experimental.
It gives
game
me
mode.
something to do, man. So
it was an experimental game mode. So the original idea was, after we complete the tournament, there will obviously have to be a prize for the winner. And to determine that prize, it will be everyone against that winner. And the idea is basically you have to run or do whatever you want and survive as long as you can. And for every second you are alive, you will stack up diamonds that you receive.
Oh, nice.
With a cap. And that was an interesting test.
It's like an evil prize. Okay, as your prize,
we changed plan a little bit because
try and kill you. So.
Because it really went quicker. It was over quicker than I expected. But Commander Aphelion actually found the loophole because he had the Guardian fighter that are the fastest fighters in the game, and that really showed up because nobody could catch him. And it was basically us chasing and dying due to the maximum range. And the only reason he didn't make it to the 5-minute cap is because he also started to exceed the range and exploded because of that. But yeah, that was fun.
So was this in CQC?
No, this was regular.
Okay. Exceed the range from his ship. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. That you've got to keep your ship close.
I think 30 kilometers or so, but yep.
Yeah.
We all started to exceed that.
And Barefeet won the competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
He won the little tournament. Was due to the low number of participants. We just had a round robin tournament. Everyone played against everyone. And yeah, after going through a couple of these game modes, we decided to go into CQC and had our own lobby where we fought.
Well, the important thing is
we had no musketeer, for the record.
God, I hate that guy. For listeners, it was just like Mistler, myself, and Barefoot took part in CQC one time, and we were all noobs at CQC, and there was like this one godlike player, maximum level, elite CQC, just kept killing us, and we kind of made it our goal to just try and take him down. I don't think any of us actually succeeded. I came close once, and I was taken out by somebody else. So on to site.
I've got a couple other vigor things.
You got a couple of vigor things. Okay.
How
about the role play?
I was thinking. Well, no. I'm staying out of that for now. I was gonna bring up other events we should throw in on the horizon. Do you remember Smackaberry?
No.
That-
Smack-Berry is where somebody's in a Type 9 and everyone else is in Sidewinders, and they just keep running into the Type 9 until it explodes. But
Okay.
in addition to like canyon racing and stuff, we also have the Hungry Hippos, which I believe was a game where we're all flying around in Sidewinders, scooping cargo and delivering it to our mothership of the team. And then we had like somebody throwing in bio waste in the mix of the treasures to try to, make it more difficult to pick up the stuff that's actually valuable. So just a couple things to consider for events in the future.
I'm
What was
certainly
the-
up for everyone who has funny ideas for games we could do. Doesn't have to be PvP or anything, but games like these, just send me notes. I'm collecting ideas. One we got during the event was we noticed that when a ship gets close to another one that is on hold position and you're in your fighter or whatever, the ship automatically starts to move out of the way. So you can actually try to move other ships if you.
That sounds evil.
I think you see where this is going.
Yeah.
One could make some kind of race where you push other ships
mothership
over a finish
hockey.
line or something. Yeah, exactly.
It's like basically using your fighter to throw your mothership around.
Yes, to throw other people's motherships around. No, that was weird. I think we need more time to make sure that actually works as intended. It wasn't just a fluke thing.
Yep. But any
Oh.
ideas like this, don't hesitate telling us about them.
I quite like the idea of like the Hungry Hippos. This sounds like really fun. At least as a round, not necessarily pass the whole night doing it, but definitely for a round. The 2 teams or
It does require a few people, though.
Yeah,
So
because you need somebody
if we
to
have
fly
good
mothership.
turnouts, then that would be a fun one.
Yep. Especially if it's an open fire. Live ammunition has been distributed.
The CQC one is a really great way to get new members in that, they don't have all their ships nearby, because that's one thing we'll always run into. Our event starts now, but it takes time for people to actually get there because they sign into the game at that time and realize they're 12 jumps away with the wrong ship build and everything.
Yeah.
So CQC is great for just avoiding all that.
Yeah, no, CQC is highly underrated. I mean, the biggest problem I had with it was always I could never get in. There was a point where I just could not get into the game. I played most of my. I actually played CQC a fair bit when it was
You'll
in
always
beta.
get in if you show up with a group of people, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was always doing it solo, and I just could not get into the game. I mean, I sat there for like 90 minutes one time. I think that was the last time I really tried. Because I played a lot of CQC in beta, and I loved it. But from when it went live, I think at first, like in the first few weeks, it was just too busy and the matchmaking was off. And then it died a death very quickly. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but CQC has always been fun when we took part in it as a group. I've played in a few CQC groups over the years. BJ is stable. On to Sight. I can't really question him about anything because I have to say he did address like the one worry I was having, which was a lore thing. It's like he's inviting one of the people to join us, and I was like, but they're isolationists who basically only signaled for help because everybody was dying. So whether or not, but he addressed that. He said, I mean, it depends if somebody wants to come here, maybe if they join the Empire.
He specifically addressed it from Cubio 6.
Yes,
That was a surprise.
Yeah. Well, we have our secrets. I think it was Bright Phoenix was whom he sent. It'd be nice to actually hear. One of the things I was thinking about from when he was talking was it would be nice if, like, for one of the shows we could do an interview with somebody. Like,
Absolutely.
now I'd like to speak to Bright Phoenix about what he thinks is going on with the Calconda.
That's something mine needs to start doing again too, interviewing our players.
Yeah. It's always a nice thing, and it makes people feel appreciated when they're interviewed and they get to speak their bit. And for a little while, they have the limelight. So on to Lord Harold. I have to say, like, the one thing that I was thinking about when you were going over the new war overhaul is it in danger of becoming overly complicated?
I have no idea. I'm not involved in it.
Because also, if it is complicated, I mean, the thing that, especially when they started talking about mobility and range and even evasion, is, I mean, I was a war gamer in my university days. Is then we're starting to get into the realm of being able to, if you can figure out how to use the system, the people that understand it very well will be able to massacre those who don't. If it gets overly complicated, then there will be balance issues, and that's not something.
Well, right off the bat, we won't
A simple
have
system is
players
less
fighting against
likely.
players.
Yeah, that's the
They'll be
problem,
fighting
though.
against an enemy. So
Okay, okay, so be NPCs they'll be fighting against.
at least from the
Okay.
beginning, so we can really test out how this is all going to work. I mean, there is going to be a testing phase that will be in our lore.
Yeah.
So you'll already be contributing to the story. It's just we need to balance things out. But I'm not overly worried about it. I think the only person who needs to be worried is Missler. From the way I understand it, is there's expectation that the website will be involved in managing some of this math. I don't know. They're focused on getting it working on paper. And if it works and is simple enough to calculate there, then they're hoping that they can move that on to a system that does it automatically. And really, the player just, I mean, it could be as simple as throwing things at the enemy and
if it's
seeing what works.
Simple enough, I mean, even like Excel would be able to handle it. So,
well, that's what I want. I want it to be working in Excel so that I can do it. Because I'm not going to sit down with a calculator and figure this stuff out. It's too much. I would rather focus on the narrative.
Yeah.
The
other thing
that is a challenge I gave to Ramirez and Kurt Austin, and they will continue to work on that until it's finished.
The other thing that concerned me a little bit, and that's less. This is much less of an issue if it's not player versus player, but it's player versus environment. NPCs and things would be the availability of troops. I mean, obviously, if I come back from my jaunt to Beagle's Point, I end up with 1,000,000,000,000,000 trillion diamonds. I mean, what's to stop me from buying all the armies and ships and things and like locking other people out?
Well, that is going to be the easiest to address, because the way it works right now is there's only 4 tanks available. And if I want to add more tanks, it's more tanks you have to scroll through on the diamond market to see which one's available. Instead, we're only going to have 1 tank, and I can just give it an ownership cap. How many are you allowed to rent at once? And then give it a quantity, just like all the other items on the diamond market.
Okay.
No, you're only allowed 5 of this, but I can have 35 of them in stock.
That was my next note, was limit availability. So it's good to see that. Yeah.
It'd be easy to scale up and down too.
Discord, yeah. But I mean, things like one of the things I wrote here is Commander Miller buff on the Icarus is worrying. So, get the Icarus, and that's it. You rule. You rule. I mean, that's going to be a problem. I mean, if anybody could afford the Icarus, that is a problem, and it should be a problem. I'm not saying that it's the kind of thing we should avoid. There should be things where people have to work together to bring down somebody. I mean, that's all fine.
But there will be consequences for everything. Too. That's why I'm really excited about the urban combat.
The consequences are you now rule the galaxy.
A good consequence is a lot of casualties. A lot of civilians are getting killed. You're decimating a city because you brought the Icarus to bombard it when your enemy was a smaller force, a guerrilla tactic. So there'll be consequences. I think players will. I mean, you can come in overpowered, but there will be weight to your decision. It will have an impact.
Sorry, I was just reading over the Discord post management. That's something. This is like an interaction between Discord and the website, and from the website to Discord, it's like a two-way street between the two. So is this new functionality that's all coming to the website?
A lot of it is new. Oh, Meisler, you go ahead and cover this.
It's taking the idea of we currently have the bot do with these regular daily or weekly articles, and expanding on that, make it manageable from the website so admins can set up new posts, can set up when they are posted.
It'd be nice if that was reversed, because one of the things is, like, if you look at the website, the news, especially, I mean, it's been a little time since I last looked at it, but it was very outdated. I mean, I think the last couple of articles were from maybe even
it's the
Sue.
Baltic hunt.
Yeah, Baltic Hunt and Sue is not a big scroll down to her articles. Whereas if there's like automatic posting as well from, like, similar to what we have in the Discord, I mean that does give the appearance of recent news.
Yes,
because
so it's going to be
one
that.
one of the first things that I do when I check out a group website is look at news and the dates. It's not even a thing I deliberately do, but it's obvious. And if you see if it's like dated from 3 years ago, you think, this is not a very active group. So
this is a conversation we haven't had yet, but I think that's a great idea if the news also was posting to our front page there with the dates. But just to make it clear, it's going to be doing exactly what it already was doing on Discord. It's just going to be coming.
That's a good idea. I mean, that's just, it gives the impression. It doesn't even need to do a lot, as long as it gives the impression of continuous. I've completely forgotten the word I'm looking for. Activity. I forgot the word activity. So it just gives the impression that there's continuous activity in the game. If you see the news is all like in the last few days, the last week, then you know that there's things going on and it's active. I mean, this is something that we do. I mean, we already have this functionality in the Discord.
But the functionality we're building onto that, which I'm most excited about, is the fact that we can actually specifically schedule on what day we want something to post. So no longer is it just, we'll have the wild stuff happening as it's been happening. It's all just wildly posted. But I was also trying to use it for articles that are not timeless. We need that to post now. And so that if that system is working as intended, then we can do other announcements with it, including birthdays.
Missler, you must be making a good living off of all this work that we're making you do.
Absolutely.
Poor guy. It's like the worst thing is volunteering and realizing that we have somebody competent in things, because then the poor person gets loaded. Well, we have to try and make sure not to load you too much. Although I think we're probably nearing that. So sorry. No, it's nice when we find it's like when you find talented people and you can bring them together. It's always a nice thing. I mean, like when I first set up the PI, like Kevin walking in the door was a godsend, and especially understood how talented he was at that time. He's obviously burnt through most of it in the time since then, but when he walked in and I saw how talented he was, I mean, that was, hold on to him and make sure he does nice things. And I mean, that was.
I want to say we have random articles that post now, but I used to post an article every single day with fresh new artwork.
I remember.
I was crazy.
Yeah. No, because even like when we first set up the TPM website, I had to go through and manually download each image and picture and then upload it to the new website. And just doing that, I mean, I wasn't even producing the stuff, but just going through all the backlog, downloading the picture, downloading the article, uploading the picture, uploading the article, even that was exhausting. And I was, Jesus.
You can see why I favor so much of, give me an interface so I can do it myself. Because Doom used to be the one managing the diamond market. I'd have a typo and I'd have to tell him to go fix it.
Yeah, no, it's always bad. It's not bad. It's nice but the problem is always, and it's why I've always been reluctant. I mean, like when Doom set up the website, I was actually not terribly happy about that, because I always wanted to it's not have the control because I need the control, but it's have the control because I've been online since like the mid-90s. I know what happens if somebody leaves or they burn, and that's exactly what happened with Doom. Doom burnt out and he left, and at that point my biggest, I'm really sorry you're leaving Doom, but what's happening with the website? Fortunately, in this case, we've managed to keep it. I still don't even know how that, because I'm not in charge anymore, so I don't need to know.
Well, he handed it off. He has
Really?
all the tools available to hand off.
Okay.
And he created a functionality for user interfaces, which is something that Mistler is expanding on. Everything has an interface, so that because I can't do the coding stuff to manage a website, but anything that my hands are involved on with the website, a tool has been created for me, either by Doom or Mistler. And so
Yeah.
he's still managing the hosting.
Yeah, that's what worries me. It's always been like
That can be passed down, but it does require communication.
Yeah.
If he stops paying for it, then it becomes available for someone else to buy. I'm paying for it right now. It's just he's the one who's actually submitting the money.
Okay.
I'm paying him to manage to keep the website running.
Okay. That's a different discussion. But yeah, that's always why I wanted to, because I know that it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't even matter if I burn out. I would never kind of let the PI go. That's just, it's in my DNA at this point. So I mean that's how I feel.
That's what builds up the core. I mean, there's a few of us that are like that now.
Yeah. This is like there's you, myself, Otto, are probably the three people that I trust with ownership of things. I mean, like when I handed over the PayPal stuff to Otto, I mean, for me, it wasn't a problem. And even like when I handed over the server, it was either to you or Otto. It wasn't really a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we kind of got a little bit off topic. Vice Herald, is there any? Is this something we're allowed to discuss in the channel, or should
Of course.
we like?
Yeah, no, we can discuss that.
Is there any standout candidates to anybody, especially if you're looking from only?
Oh, we've all got. Everybody's got opinions and standouts. And for me, it really comes down to who's available for being an admin.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of time it isn't even. It's not about the best person. It's about the person with the most free time available. I mean, that's how we got Mistler. I just kidding. No, but you do. You do need a balance between
Android.
You do need a balance between availability and ability.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's three things I'm looking for. Two in addition to availability, and that's just one of them being the core of mind, which is representing the culture of the Prismatic Imperium. So whoever I pick has to be able to represent our ideal of that soft guidance of this is the kind of people we are.
that's kind of what concern. I've got one pick that I think is obvious, but what concerns me is there's what's the word? A brusqueness.
Yeah.
To this
And
person.
that is obviously something that I have to consider, because it's like it would be easy to pick who's the most available and would obviously work their butt off for the branch of mind. And that's when it becomes really difficult to pick. And that's why I proposed it to the High Council. I'm like, who do you guys think I should pick? Because sometimes what I consider first pick, I might only be thinking about production, which is big to me. I kind of weigh that over a lot of things.
In your defense, though, I think that, whilst it's fair to ask for advice and opinions, ultimately the decision is yours. So
yeah,
go with it. I mean, Mishler chose Ben. We also had that worked out.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem I have is I can only pick one. So.
But see, I don't think. I think that's it's become tradition at this point. But in my mind, it was never meant to be just one. There was never meant to be just one.
I was fighting for that. I specifically fought for only one because I didn't want the High Council to become the good old boys club.
But that's what we
all
are.
Of us old members. That's what we were.
No, but even then, it's like I agree that people should step down if they're not available. I mean, that was probably one of the hardest things for me early on. Was like, I mean, we saw how long Dario stayed in the High Council.
Yeah,
I mean, he was in the High Council for like 2 years after he'd left us because I didn't want.
I just don't want anyone to have the legitimate complaint that High Council is impossible to join unless you were involved from the very beginning.
No,
That's
but
no,
we've
I mean, we were
never.
accused of that, but it wasn't true.
Yeah, but accused by. I mean, even then, even like my reappointment to the High Council, that wasn't even my idea. I actually didn't just automatically say yes because I'd stepped down from the High Council. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd willingly left. That damn techie brought me back in. But yeah, actually, I understood why he brought me back in. So that was from what I'm actually interested in, and also the fact that I do have limited time, and I didn't feel like I could actually run up as part, but I could assist, and that is
Mhm.
what I've tried to do. Even just from a morale point of view and advice is kind of even like in game when I've spoken in character and role play, as I have done to a couple of
Yeah.
people. It's always
Well,
been.
I think
I see my role as advisory to the Lord Headman.
yeah. I think the way that I'm seeing the branch of mind going is that I've been fighting too hard to try to make us relevant as an in-game activity branch, and it's just hard to do it. Um, Vigor covers pretty much everything in game, and whatever Vigor can't pick up, Sight picks up. And so I think I'm more focused on, I'm gonna have a Vice Herald that's there for moderation, but I'm gonna have important duties for anyone who joins the branch of mind. It seems like the branch of mind is not for everyone. It's if you choose to be in mind, there's something outside of the game that has you drawn to the game universe, and I'm going to try to exploit that. So, I mean, a perfect example is Ramirez is stepping down from High Council, but Ramirez is still going to be in charge of the battle system, and other things in the future. Um, and so it really doesn't matter who the Vice Herald is. Um, that's just they're going to be doing the duties of a mind officer or producer, in addition to um, being a moderator on our Discord server. That's really what it comes down to. And I'd like them to be available in game in order to add people to our squadron as stuff like that, because that's a role they're going to have in game. And
Yeah, no, I
it's
mean there has been pushes for various directions over the years. I mean, we've never really been afraid to experiment. We've taken mind out. I still think like there's a certain sense to what we did that time when we took mind out of the pillar branch system, PPM,
Mhm.
and we made it a kind of like a between the High Council and the branches.
Yeah. I
They
think
didn't
for
really put the
simplicity's
people.
sake, I really like where it's at right now.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting we change it again, but
Mhm.
it did make more sense to me lore wise that mind wouldn't be a branch per se. It made sense that it's above the branches and outside because
Right.
that is kind of what
But
it does.
I really just love the concept of media being part of the government. Yeah.
I'm not really comment on that.
I kind of love the political lore that I've been able to
I
add
I
to
I
QBO.
I do embrace like non distinguish between me the player and the character. I mean, I've always liked that my character, especially this particular iteration of Jeff, has different morals from myself. In fact,
Yeah.
one of the things that disappointed me about Ashling, because remember, this is something I've discussed a few times. I did not follow Ashling because of her liberal agenda. I followed Ashling because she was the daughter of Harry, who was
Yes.
the
Yeah.
crown prince. So, for me, as a character, her liberal agenda is not why I followed her, and Jeff didn't particularly share it. I think Corwin didn't share it, but now does far
Yeah.
far far more
I
so.
think it
Whereas
makes sense for him to follow it.
yeah, whereas Jeff was kind of more ambivalent
But
towards it.
I mean, this is a sandbox, and we've got the
Yeah,
freedom to do. I mean, if I want to be in a not evil but gray area, literal
yeah.
politician,
I
fake news.
embrace the role play opportunities that
Mm,
being a member of the Empire afforded me, and that Jeff wasn't. Like, if I wanted to make someone more similar to myself would probably be in the Alliance, which in fact was my original idea. Whereas when I ended up being in the Empire, I embraced it. And I was a little bit disappointed when Aisling kind of forced me to be a kind of good guy again. So,
well, that was like a comment I had is I noticed ever since I had joined the Empire and Aisling, it felt like I was being forced to conform into her beliefs, and I'm like, I know it sounds weird, but I'm fighting to keep anarchy in Elite Dangerous, because you've got the player groups that are trying to eradicate anarchy and just all the bad things because they're bad and evil and stuff. I'm like, no, we need it represented in the universe somewhere. We need conflict. And it's like I feel like I'm Cubio's conflict. Like everybody's trying to make it this slave freeing, the Aisling agenda, and then there I am trying to turn it all upside down and be like, oh, but wait, there's federals and there's this, there's that, there's tigers.
That's kind of also why I felt like Corwin specifically was necessary, because you needed somebody,
a foundation.
Good. Yeah, no, you needed somebody good that people could rally around. Especially, I'm talking about specifically inside PI. I mean, if you look at our lore, there's a lot of bad things going on. So we needed somebody who represented the antithesis of that and the ideal of the Prismatic Imperium. And that's kind of always what I tried to do.
Yeah, I love the Corwin Ryan thing. Yeah, he's the benevolent core of the Prismatic Imperium,
around which all this other crap goes on.
Right.
But you need that core, because without the core, the crap would just spiral out of control. So, but if you didn't have the crap, that I keep saying that word, but if you didn't have all that stuff going on around it, it'd be boring. And it's the interplay between the two that gives the story.
I think that really is what sets us apart.
Yeah, within us we've got both the stability and the instability mixing, and yeah, it does need curation from time to time. So anyway, I think we've still got a few minutes left, but prismatic discussion. Although it's just us today, we've kind of had a bit of a discussion anyway.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, so do I. Prismatic discussion. Prismatic discussion.
Well.
Prismatic discussion. It's worth it just for that well.
Yeah, the well's my favorite.
So he's with us in spirit. So
yeah, well. He expected it today anyway, so we had to have it.
Yep,
we did have to have it. One of the things I found most interesting is actually it's that piece of news that's actually been around for a little while, but people didn't really latch onto it, which was a post by Invested Geordie, who managed to get a word with Braben at Frontiers AGM, who could. What I find a little bit strange is the specific wording that David Braben used, which is that the code base will be renewed via this paid update that's coming in 2020. So does that mean, I mean, this is what bothers me. Now, I may be completely wrong, but does that mean that the money that they're going to get from the paid expansion is going to be used to sort out the code base and basically to rewrite the underlying code for Elite Dangerous? Or is it something that they're working on now and then and that's why it's taking so long, and then the expansion will allow them to recoup their losses? I mean, is it rewrite?
It's hard to say. You're right. It's strange wording, but I wouldn't be too worried about it because we already know the 2020 update is an investment they're already working on.
I think it makes more sense my way. Like, if they're doing it now, that's what's taking everything so goddamn long.
The 2020 update is supposed to be pretty big, so I'd understand it as the renewed codebase is already part of it. The more interesting question to me is, what does renewed codebase now actually mean? Are they completely rewriting everything, or are they just improving on select parts? It's not totally clear on what
I think it sounds to me like it's, especially with the amount of time that they're putting into it, if this is what's happening, is that it would be a complete rewrite, because they've got so many things that just should work together but don't. For example, SRVs, wings, and fighters all work under different systems where they should be unified under kind of one system.
Yeah, and kind of to
Multi-crew.
add to that, I will say that it sounds like most of the stuff that's coming in 2020 is its own game. And so it's not necessarily an entire dependent of the main game. Some of these added systems they're working with.
No, I don't think they could do that. I don't think they could make it a separate game. I mean,
Not a separate game, but you know what I mean with the dependency.
Yeah.
I think that there is still a lot of room for reworking the code of what's already, the base game. Because I don't believe any of this new stuff that's coming is going to have any impact on things like BGS and faction influence. I really think it's more tailored to the player's experience, which is kind of using its own systems. I mean, it's a whole new perspective. I don't know how it integrates with what we already have in the game, which is why I'm describing it as a separate game.
I think the other thing that we talked about in the news as well is like the leak is basically still holding true. There was an update on Reddit this week which it went through all the things in the leak that I'd looked at personally back in April and saying, look, everything checks out. Everything that they said was coming this year has come. All the DLCs, it's all been what they said. The other stuff for the other games has all been what they said. So it looks to be like the expansion is probably going to be base legs and base building.
Yeah, for me, talking about leaks is like talking about the aftermath of a horrible incident.
But
it's just like
I
don't know how I feel about it, but
no, I mean, I think
I treasure the information as much as anyone else does, but
I think what concerned everybody at the time was two things. One is like, should you be leaking? And the answer is no. In fact, a lot of people think, and still to this day think, that the leak was authorized by Braben. Although why you would do it in that way, there is actually an answer to that, which is that he can't officially announce stuff because they've got shareholders, and he can't put out information through regular channels. So he would look to do it through a leak.
Either way, however it was done, it still feels like a betrayal to Frontier.
I have my own problems with leaks. I don't mind leaks if they are wrong, but I do mind them if they are true. Because they are like big spoilers to me, and I don't want spoilers. I think leaks, if they are actually true, kind of destroy a lot of the hype that is intended, especially by the developers. We've to make go a little bit off topic here. We've just had this BlizzCon was earlier this month, and I'm a big fan of Blizzard games. And there were actually a few topics leaked beforehand, and this time they were true. And while I still enjoyed BlizzCon a lot, it took away from all the fun and excitement of it a bit, that you just get the information and announcement that you kind of expected to hear. You didn't know the details, but this is what it's called, this will come, and you see exactly that. It takes away from the excitement. I find that, I don't like leaks.
There's a lot of power in presentation, and we all know that Thargoids themselves are supposed to be a horror element to Elite Dangerous. And, it's kind of a betrayal to the players to be like, well, here's a Thargoid concept.
I can kind of understand, though, particularly in this case, because, like, Frontier have been so hesitant to tell us anything, particularly in this period where we haven't had a lot of information or almost no information about what's coming since 2 years ago now. Is like the last time we really had any major information, and even then, the two pieces of information we were given at the time have both been pulled, which was the update to planets and fleet carriers, have both disappeared. So, like, the two things that we were excited about in the last 2 years, neither of which have been delivered. So I can kind of understand the desperation in this case for okay, a lot of people are concerned about, is there a future to this game? And the leak in this case is nice because it tells you, yeah, look, they do have a plan. They're not telling us about it, but this is what they want to do, and it's big.
Right.
It's really big. Continue to be excited. And at this point, the players, I feel, do need something like that. They do need something to cling to.
Right.
And the
I
But
think
nice,
it's a
officially, not as a
lose-lose.
leak.
yeah, but the nice thing about it being a leak is like there is still that, isn't it? That's been going on now for months. Even now, I mean, even with this confirmation about the other parts
Mhm.
of the roadmap, we're still not
Yeah.
entirely sure.
Do you
Absolutely.
remember
If
how?
you,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
And if you have a leak that is not completely confirmed yet, speculating what will be next and all that is a lot of fun. But I think all that collapses when it turns out that the leak is actually true. I prefer to have some news
To be fair, though,
officially
is
that
is
are not
like
just a repeat of what we know
the
within.
see. I mean, the thing is with this particular leak, though, is like there are two pieces of information in it. One of which was highly suspected anyway. I mean, everybody knows that the big things that we're waiting for that have been promised since 2012 are space legs and atmospheric landings. So we expected it to be one or the other of those anyway. Those were the two big things. So the main piece of information there's one surprise, which is base building, which
Oh, that's not a surprise to me.
not to you, but it does make sense in the context of space legs and
hmm
giving us some of that kind of No Man's
I
Sky.
don't mind. I don't mind having Subnautica in Elite Dangerous, honestly.
As long as it's done. See, I mean, as long as it's done okay. I mean, I think with a game like Elite Dangerous, it doesn't have to have all the parts perfect. And one of the things that they worked on early on was like they wanted one thing perfect, and that was the flight control system. They wanted that to feel great, and they did that. I mean, that the whole beta process was all about. Even then, even as we went into alpha, they wanted the flight model to work. They wanted it to give a specific experience. They didn't want it to be too realistic. They didn't want it to be too arcadey. They wanted it to have a kind of cinematic feel, and they hit that right on the head. And the whole game is built around that whole flight experience. They didn't want it to be like the original game, which was just arcadey. They didn't want it to be like Elite 2 and 3, which was just Newtonian mechanics, which led to jousting. They wanted something in the middle that felt like it felt like you were flying a spaceship in Star Wars. I mean, and they did that. But the systems they've built around that have to be at least okay. I don't ask them to be perfect. I think they really knocked it out of the park with mining with last year. I think that really that's the best mining system I've ever seen in a game set in space. It's just amazing. I don't even do it, but I enjoy watching other people do it, which I've never had with mining. People,
I like doing it in a wing, but that's when you find the problems with it.
yeah. I mean,
Gameplay wise, it's a cool system. There are other bugs, but that's another topic we already had before.
Yeah. So I do hope, fully expect, like when they rewrite the code base, that there will be new bugs brought in. I mean, that's going to be something to work on, but hopefully they'll be able to.
Which bugs? The Thargoids or the game bugs?
Both.
Both. All bugs. So but it'd be nice if the code is more integrated. And I am surprised that didn't happen earlier on, especially given the fact that Elite Dangerous was planned. I mean, the expansions, the things that we've spoken about during the development, a lot of that came in, and the features that didn't really take off, the things that people were not really massively hyped about, or things that didn't turn out to be popular, and I include Power Play in this, were things that came out of left field. These were things that hadn't been discussed with the DDF. They weren't things that had come up during development of the game. These are just CQC is another one. Although I mean, I think all of us enjoy it, but it wasn't the success that Frontier hoped it would be. It wasn't the massive. They thought they'd be able to pull in the console guys with CQC to the point they even launched it as its own game mode. Like even you could just download CQC and play, and they hyped the tournament and things for it, which never really took off. So, but considering like there was so much planning that went into the DDF about system, I'm surprised that code-wise they weren't able to integrate them, knowing where they were going and knowing that they wanted to bring in fighters and wings and SRVs. I mean, SRVs were in the game 1 year after launch, and that system was not integrated with wings. It wasn't integrated with what eventually became multi-crew. It was. I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't integrate these things from the get-go to the point that they have to do this code reintegration. I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, we're 5 years down the line from game launch. So, I mean, 2014, the game went live. That's 5 years ago now. So obviously, there's some stuff they need to pull back together. But I'm surprised there was just so many separate systems when they knew what they wanted to do from day one. From day minus 365, they knew what they wanted to bring in. So I am surprised that it's just so detached. I just invented that word. Detached from each other. They're just so all these systems are so detached when they should be far more integrated, especially given the multiplayer experience, which has been, in the game since basically its design document phase.
Yep. Well, we're at 11 after.
Yeah, we did start later, so that's why I let us run through to 10 past. Anyway, yep. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. I've been your host, Jeff Ryan, and join us next week for another Prismatic Congress.
I look forward to it.
Bye.